Today's material is a transcript of an English learning lesson aimed at helping beginners overcome speaking anxiety by mastering just 5 essential tenses. And jumping straight in, the sequence of the tenses presented in the lesson could be reordered to better build student confidence and establish a more logical progression.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you synthesize the current order of the material, it it jumps around a lot.
It really does.
Like, it starts with a simple past, discussing going to the gym, and then immediately pivots to the present continuous, focusing on what you're learning right now.
Right.
From there, it just shifts to the simple present for daily routines, skips forward to the simple future for plans, and then loops all the way back to the present perfect for life experiences.
Which is just, it's a lot.
It is. Now, reducing 12 complex English tenses down to a core 5 is honestly a highly effective strategy for lowering the initial language barrier for adult learners.
Oh, absolutely.
It immediately disarms a lot of that foundational anxiety by signaling that fluency doesn't require mastery of every single grammatical rule. But looking at the structural execution, this specific nonlinear sequence disrupts the mental scaffolding required for a true beginner to feel secure.
Yeah, totally.
By asking a student to jump backward to the past, then forward to the immediate present, sideways to general routines, then into the future, and finally back to an unspecified past, the lesson is inadvertently causing cognitive whiplash.
Cognitive whiplash, yes. Let's actually unpack the mechanics of that. When an adult learns a new language, their brain is already working in overdrive just to retrieve vocabulary and apply basic syntax.
Right, just finding the words is hard enough.
Exactly. So if you add the burden of constantly reorienting their internal timeline on top of that, you basically overload their working memory.
Yeah, they just crash.
A student is trying to visualize yesterday, and just as they anchor themselves in that past context, the instructor drags them into the future. That scattered timeline removes the linear logic of time.
Which is super counterproductive.
Right. It might inadvertently contribute to the exact confusion and, that freezing the lesson is actively trying to cure.
Completely agree. So the fix here is that we need to restructure the introduction of the tenses chronologically or by cognitive ease to improve retention and ensure the transition between tenses feels completely logical and natural.
Yes, make it make sense organically.
Exactly. If we look at how the human brain naturally anchors itself in a new environment, it always starts with the immediate, known surroundings before expanding outward.
Right.
So in a language context, that means beginning with the simple present. This tense establishes the baseline of daily routines. It allows the learner to talk about things they know intimately and do automatically, like waking up, eating, working.
Yeah, by making those fundamental daily routines feel automatic, you establish a very strong ground floor. It's like, comparing this logical transition of tenses to walking through a house illustrates the structural need perfectly.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right? You have to establish that ground floor first, which is the present, before you start opening doors to the basement, which represents the past.
And the basement represents the past.
Exactly. Or before climbing up into the attic, which represents your future. You cannot expect a beginner to just teleport between floors without severely confusing their internal compass.
That is such a great way to look at it. Building that architectural foundation in the lesson plan gives the learner a real sense of physical orientation in the language.
Mm-hmm.
Once they are standing firmly on that ground floor of the simple present, we can introduce a tiny, safe step to the present continuous, which is just what is happening right this exact second.
Very safe step.
Right, and from there, the student can confidently open the door to the basement and explore the simple past for finished actions. Following that, they walk up to the attic to use the simple future for plans.
And then how do you handle the present perfect?
Well, we then conclude with the present perfect. It's notoriously tricky for beginners to grasp conceptually, but placed at the very end of this new sequence, it acts as the staircase.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it serves as the bridge connecting those past experiences in the basement back up to the present moment on the ground floor.
That structure creates a fantastic narrative through line for the entire lesson. And, the chronological ordering is just one potential way to solve the sequencing issue.
True. There are other ways.
An instructor could also sequence these tenses strictly by structural simplicity, perhaps introducing all the tenses that don't require auxiliary verbs first before moving on to complex constructions.
Right. The key isn't necessarily the timeline itself, but the logic.
Exactly. The underlying mechanism that matters is that the sequence must have an easily explainable logic. When the transition between grammatical concepts feels inevitable, the learner's anxiety plummets because they can anticipate what comes next.
Yeah, they aren't memorizing isolated grammar islands.
No, they are walking a clear, well-lit path.
Well said. So we've established how putting the tenses in a logical order creates a cognitively safe environment for the learner. But even with a perfectly ordered timeline, a student still has to actually open their mouth and speak.
That's the terrifying part for most people.
Material's approach to interactive prompts lacks the active scaffolding necessary to truly conquer speaking performance anxiety.
Okay, let's dig into that. Looking closely at the section discussing real-life practice scenarios, the material actually makes a strong case for immersion by highlighting highly relatable daily life situations.
Yeah, like ordering at a restaurant.
Ordering out a restaurant, asking for directions, or discussing daily routines. But to execute this, the script relies heavily on repeat after me exercises.
Right, the mimicking.
Exactly. The listener is prompted to mimic phrases like, I wake up at 7 a.m. every day, or I went to the supermarket yesterday.
And look, mimicking has a distinct purpose in language acquisition. I mean, it is phenomenal for practicing the physical mechanics of pronunciation.
For sure.
And it safely reduces the initial fear of making a sound in a new language. But mimicking does not bridge the gap between rote repetition and spontaneous thought.
No, it really doesn't.
The lesson accurately identifies that students freeze under pressure in real-world scenarios. But the core issue is that students generally do not freeze because they have forgotten how to parrot a sentence they just heard.
Right.
They freeze because they struggle to independently generate their own original sentence under the pressure of a real-time conversation without translating it in their heads first.
Exactly. So to fix this, we need to evolve the interactive prompts from passive repetition to progressive, open-ended conversational triggers that boost user participation and excitement. The listener must move from reading a provided script to playing an active role in a simulated conversation.
Right. Introducing the element of choice achieves this. So, for example, the material could implement a fill-in-the-blank pause within the audio.
Okay, how would that sound?
Instead of having the host simply say a sentence and ask the listener to repeat it identically, the script should pivot to a prompt. The host could say, I wake up at 7 a.m. Now it's your turn. Tell me what time you wake up. Ready? Go.
Okay.
And then the audio track just leaves a deliberate 3-second silence for the listener to fill with their own information.
I actually have to challenge that specific execution.
Oh, why is that?
Well, if our target audience is a group of true beginners who are already highly prone to freezing, hitting them with 3 seconds of dead silence and demanding they generate a unique answer on the spot seems really risky.
You think it's too much pressure?
Yeah, I mean, that sudden void might actually increase their anxiety, triggering the exact panic response the lesson is designed to cure. It feels like throwing a beginner into the deep end of the pool before teaching them the mechanics of treading water.
That is a very fair point. Silence in an audio lesson is terrifying. But it is a neurologically necessary evil.
Interesting. Tell me more about that.
To build actual fluency, the brain must experience the struggle of word retrieval. If we eliminate the struggle by constantly providing the exact words to say, we just completely eliminate the learning process.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, the neural pathways required for spontaneous speech are only forged when the brain searches for a word and successfully places it in a sentence.
Right.
However, I agree that throwing them into the deep end without a lifeline is indeed counterproductive. We need to provide a safety net to manage that silence.
Okay, so how do we script that safety net without falling back into passive repetition?
Well, the material could offer a menu of vocabulary options right before that pause. So the host frames it like this. I wake up at 7 a.m. Now it's your turn. You can say 6 a.m., 7 a.m., or 8 a.m. Tell me what time you wake up. Ready? Go!
Ah, okay. Providing the menu of options completely changes the cognitive dynamic of the exercise.
Right?
Yeah, by giving them the vocabulary up front, the instructor removes the heavy lifting of memory retrieval. The student doesn't have to frantically search their brain for the English word for 8.
Exactly. They only have to focus on selecting a piece of information and plugging it into the grammatical framework in real time. It isolates the generation process, allowing them to practice constructing a sentence without the fear of forgetting a specific noun or number.
Yes, this is the concept of guided autonomy in practice. The instructor provides the structural framework and a limited set of building blocks, but the learner takes the crucial step of actually assembling the sentence themselves.
Which is huge for confidence. It really is, and over the course of the material, those parameters can gradually widen. Like, the first exercise might offer a strict menu of 3 options. By the final exercise, the prompt might be entirely open-ended.
That's a great progression.
Yeah, and these are just a few examples of how to scaffold independent speaking. The foundational mechanism remains the same, though. Forcing the brain to choose a word and place it into a grammatical structure in real time is the only way to cure the freeze response. Passive listening will never flip that switch.
It is literally the difference between riding a roller coaster and actually driving a car.
Oh, I love that.
Repetition is the roller coaster. The student is moving fast, experiencing the language, and it feels like they are doing something productive, but they're just locked onto someone else's track. They have no control over the destination.
Exactly.
The open-ended prompts, even with a strict menu of options, force the listener to actually take the steering wheel, even if it is just for 3 seconds at a time.
Spot on. But, once a student learns how to take the steering wheel, the challenge becomes keeping them on the road long term.
That's always the trick, isn't it?
It really is. And the lesson emphasizes daily practice to accelerate oral fluency, but it misses a crucial opportunity to provide a concrete framework for students to independently track their personal progress.
Right. Let's look at the ending. The final minutes of the material focus heavily on maintaining motivation. The author provides upbeat, highly encouraging tips like practice speaking every day, stop translating in your head, and talk to yourself.
And while removing complex grammar rules makes the very start of the language journey feel remarkably accessible, open-ended advice like practice every day is notoriously difficult to sustain.
Extremely difficult.
Without a tangible, visible way to measure their improvement, beginners easily lose motivation. A few weeks after finishing the lesson, the initial excitement will wear off.
Yeah, life just gets in the way.
Exactly. And without a structural anchor to their daily routine, this simplified 5/10 framework might completely fade from memory.
The psychology of the language plateau is incredibly frustrating for adult learners.
It's the worst. When a person looks in the mirror every single day, they don't notice themselves aging because the changes are microscopic.
Right.
Language acquisition operates on the exact same principle. A student practicing daily doesn't realize they are improving day to day. They still feel like they are struggling, which breeds frustration and often leads to abandonment.
It's identical to trying to lose weight without using a scale or taking measurements.
Great comparison.
A person might be putting in the daily work at the gym, but if they have no metrics to prove their progress, they assume nothing is happening and they just quit.
Exactly.
We need to create a specific, actionable daily routine or guide that anchors the 5 tenses to the student's personal life, allowing them to visibly track their fluency development over time.
Yes. So, for instance, the material could propose a 5/10 daily voice journal.
Oh, a voice journal. I like where this is going.
Right. The listener is instructed to use the voice memo app on their smartphone every single night before bed. The assignment is highly specific. Record exactly 5 sentences, one for each of the core tenses we've established in the lesson.
Let's map out exactly what those 5 sentences look like in practice, applying the structural timeline we discussed earlier.
Okay, so sentence 1 utilizes the simple present to ground the entry, like, what is my daily routine?
Okay.
Sentence 2 uses the present continuous. What am I doing right now in this exact moment? Sentence 3 steps back to the simple past. What did I do earlier today? Sentence 4 looks forward with the simple future. What will I do tomorrow? And then sentence 5 wraps up with the present perfect. What is a broader experience I've had related to today?
That is so fast, too.
Yeah, the entire exercise takes maybe 60 seconds to record.
This specific framework entirely removes the guesswork from the concept of daily practice. The student doesn't wake up wondering how they are supposed to practice today. The blueprint is already drawn for them.
Exactly.
Furthermore, it creates a historical archive of their progress. Imagine the psychological boost of a student listening back to their day 1 recording on day 30.
It would be mind-blowing for them.
They will hear their own hesitations, their stumbles, and their slow cadence from that first day and immediately compare it to the fluidity they've developed a month later.
And that provides undeniable, audible proof that their speaking is becoming more automatic. The voice journal basically acts as a time capsule.
A time capsule, yeah.
When they hear that stark contrast in their own voice, it shatters the illusion of the language plateau. It perfectly aligns with the author's overarching goal of building real-world confidence, because the confidence isn't coming from a teacher's praise, it's coming from empirical evidence of their own growth.
And it's important to note that a voice journal is just one of many potential tracking tools. The material could suggest a written 5-sentence journal, a habit tracking app, or even an accountability partner where the student texts 5 audio messages a day.
Oh yeah, totally up to the learner.
Right. The specific medium matters less than the tangibility of the tracking mechanism itself. The goal is to move the advice from the theoretical realm of try to practice into the highly practical realm of here is exactly what to execute and how to measure it.
Exactly. It takes all the brilliant simplification of reducing English to 5 tenses and gives it a dedicated container to grow in. Because without that container, the knowledge just dissipates into the stress of daily life.
It really does. All right. To recap, we explored 3 major structural tweaks to maximize the impact of this piece. First, reordering the introduction of the tenses, establishing the present, moving to the past, and looking to the future to create a logical progression that prevents cognitive whiplash.
Essential.
Second, upgrading passive repetition exercises into active, conversational scaffolding with fill-in-the-blank pauses, effectively curing the freeze response by forcing real-time sentence generation.
Right.
And finally, implementing a tangible daily tracking guide, like a 5-10s daily voice journal, to maintain long-term motivation by providing audible proof of fluency.
Yeah, these changes will make a huge difference.
We invite the listener to apply these structural suggestions, reshape the pacing and interactive elements of the lesson, and submit the revised work back in for more feedback. Structuring the timeline logically, scaffolding the interactions safely, and pouring a concrete plan for daily tracking ensures the learner's confidence will be built to last.